everyone. Welcome to Empowering Exceptional Minds, the podcast diving into neurodiversity through real conversations with parents, individuals, and professionals on challenges, strengths, and unique experiences. I'm your host, Maayan Glazer-Koren, an educational therapist, ADHD educator, and ASD specialist. At Educational Therapy LLC, my private practice, we support kids and adults with executive function and learning differences toward confidence and independence. This podcast is a collaboration with Wiz Therapy, connecting individuals to providers and streamlining services for neurodiverse communities. Our goal is to share strategies, stories, and insights to empower families, educators, and professionals. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast or Wiz Therapy. The conversations here are for information and empowerment, not a substitute for professional or medical advice. And most importantly, if you are experiencing a mental health emergency, please dial 911 immediately, or you can text 741-741 to reach the crisis text line in the US for support. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. I want you to close your eyes and picture this. It's night before the first day of school. Your kid's backpack is packed. The alarm is set, and you're lying in bed running through a mental checklist, but your brain won't stop. Will the transition be too much? Will the teacher get it? Did I fill out the right paperwork? If that's you, welcome home. We're in a good place. This is Empowering Exceptional Minds, the show for parents raising neurodivergent kids and who are done pretending we're just going to wing it because this is not going to work. We know that. So today we're going to talk about back to school transition, start to finish, and how to reset routines without a meltdown, yours or theirs, how to write introduction letter to your child teacher that actually hopefully they will read, and the real difference between a 504 plan and an IEP, and how to talk to your kid about the new year and whatever they're 6, 12, or 16. And my guest today is a dear colleague of mine and a friend, and she's an educational therapist like myself. And I'm going to let her introduce herself very quickly. And then we're just going to have a conversation about everything that I just mentioned, which I already forgot because I'm neurodivergent as well. So Jasleen, welcome aboard. Please introduce yourself. Tell our listeners what you do and how you do it.
Thank you so much, Mayan. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast. I'm really obliged. And my name is Jasleen Kaur Monga. I am an educational therapist. I work with students of upper elementary to adult age groups, and I specialize in math and executive functioning. My purpose and I would say the passion here is to just make a dependent child or person independent in whatever goal they have to achieve through the various tools and strategies that can be provided through a professional guidance, and making them understand that it is not something which is wrong with them, but just the way they need a structure and schedule around it. And that's how I kind of feed myself with the positivity around those students and adults who are struggling but are ready to bring that change into their life. So thank you again for inviting me here.
We're also going to mention that both of us are parents.
Yes.
And we know that, the end of summer break is hard for everybody, for the teachers, for the kids, for the parents.
For sure.
And I recently kind of talked with a colleague of mine, and we talked about transitions, and transitions happen all the time. And but today we are going to focus on transitions from summer break or any kind of break, even if you do have a winter break, and sometimes it's just a weekend, right? That you have a long weekend, and then what do we do? How do we prepare our kids that, okay, school is starting, and what can we do a few days before school starts?
Definitely. I would say that the transition back to school is not only about getting children ready to school, buying the supplies, getting the textbooks and everything in place, but it's all about helping families transition back into the routines that support the learning process altogether, build up independence, and definitely look into the emotional regulation.
Yeah, because that's really, so many kids are nervous.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's a new routine to get used to. No matter how old you are, you need to kind of start your day early, and then maybe you finish late. I know that in my life, my older starts schools at 8:30 and finishes at 4 at
Mm-hmm.
4 p.m. That's many hours, right? That
It's,
he's not home.
yep, that's
And
a
he's
lot.
in school. That's high school. It's a different transition. Also from summer, from middle school, it's very different too. Um, so this is something we do in our house before moving back to our routine, which is starting to get ready for sleep. For many kids, I would say sleep schedule during the summer is off. Um, how far in advance do we need to do that from the first day of school?
So, mine, the first thing that everyone has to understand is that our brains do not work like light switches, right? It's not like you switch on the button, you switch off the button, and everything works. So basically, sleep is really important and has to be set up over a period of time, preferably at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance,
Mm,
because it has to be a gradual change. There has to be a gradual transition into it, because our sleep is the foundation for our attention, for our learning, for our regulation, for our executive functioning. So we cannot compromise on that. And it is said that, according to the body follows a circadian rhythm, right? So when we are trying to make that immediate shift of 2 to 3 hours for the transition to the school schedule, we are actually putting our bodies into what is called, the medical term is like the circadian shock. We do
mm.
not want that to happen. Definitely, we do not want that to happen. So, we have to start at least early enough so that we can shift our timings, say 10 to 15 minutes every 2 to 3 days, to make that shift of 2 to 3 hours in totality by the time we start school. Having said that, there might be kids who are starting early, right? They do not have 2 to 3 weeks left now. So, yes, then we can shift the time to say 20 minutes um, per 2 to 3 days, because you cannot do it every day and say, oh, I'm rushing up with the system. Now, if your school is starting tomorrow or day after, God bless you. We cannot do much at this time, but definitely this is a learning for the next academic year or any transition that's coming over.
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm thinking like, so we started last week because we starting school this week.
Pretty
So
early.
yeah, so
Yep.
we were like, okay, we cannot go to sleep at 11 p.m.
Definitely.
anymore. We all need to be up on our feet the
Yep.
next day around 6:30 to get, things ready. And so we gradually did that. And now around they go to sleep around 10 and the little one goes to sleep around 9. So we are into this, started this already. It's really interesting about I talk about it too a lot with the clients about the circadian rhythm and how it can be very challenging sometimes, especially for kids who are ADHD or autistic. And it's
Teenagers.
yeah, so it's already off by that, right? So there isn't like you said, there isn't like a magic pill that we can take. Well, there are sleeping pills, but don't take it if you don't have a prescription. And just like try to create that type of routine.
Yes.
uh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, see, we all face that personally in our lives, and we have to understand it that our body would also not take that shocker. So it's even for the parents that if you're sleeping at 2 at night or 12 at night, you also have to go into that routine of, sleeping early so that you are completing that cycle of 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Though with the kids and teenagers, it is all the more important to get at least 10 hours of sleep. So we have to keep into consideration what really works for our body. Now, like you were saying about your kids, my son is going to uni this year, but we have started preparing for it right now. He's the one who he has ADHD, he has sleep apnea. So for him, falling off to sleep, having a proper sleep pattern, getting up in the morning has been always the biggest challenge. So it was like, okay, let's start working on it gradually. And he's got this shock band to kind of make sure that mom is not there at the uni. So someone needs to wake me up, right? And then we are trying to build that habit of shifting his time, waking up a little bit earlier than expected according to the schedule that he has already got for his classes so that he can be well prepared by the time he starts his classes over there. And it's not like he's struggling to just get ready and get out to attend his sessions, lectures at the uni. So that definitely is a very gradual change that we need to bring instead of just rushing it through.
Yeah, we just came back from a trip to our listeners, and we flew east, and we came back, and the jet lag was hard, and you feel like if my kid is gonna go through that, if they go to sleep really late, and then it's like they're being on jet lag the whole time,
Yes.
and then functioning when you have a jet lag, if you ever experience that, it's not fun. I mean, to keep yourself awake and to sustain attention and do all those things that you need to do. So yeah, that's something that we can work with them. And also sleep affects our regulation, like you mentioned, and our emotional regulation, and you will see more meltdowns if we are very, very tired.
Well, for
um
sure. It is said to be an emotional shock absorber, right? It is said to be a emotional shock absorber for a reason because that actually leads to, if you're having a healthy sleep pattern, it leads to resilience in a lot of things. When you're in a chaotic classroom, there are a lot of noises, because with ADHD, that's the biggest challenge. Being distracted with the minimal thing that's happening, and over and above, if that there is a disruptive sleep pattern, that definitely adds to the problem.
Okay. So let's say check mark on the sleep. We
Yes.
discussed it. And of course, to our listeners, if there is any medical issue with your child or with yourself that's related to sleep, please check it up and get a checkup and make sure that it's been taken care of. Um, Another thing that we want to talk about is um, what can we do, when they are, let's say, first day of school, they are nervous. How can we prepare them that it will be okay?
I think again, the work starts way before school starts. But see, a child would feel nervous because it's a new year, new teachers, new environment. There might be some new changes if it's a transition from elementary to middle or high school. A lot of factors that add to it. But at the same time, if we take care of the routines well in advance, if we take care of the visual anchors, the structures that we create around it, then the cognitive load around or the brain power that is required for the first day by the child is taken care of well in advance, then the nervousness reduces itself.
So how do we do that? What can we do?
So, the biggest thing is like when I'm working with students, I make sure, okay, your school starts, say, August 19th, right? You're not going to wait till the last day to set up those patterns and habits that you require for school success. So, there are certain things that are for sure there. Okay, we have to make a list of things that we need to carry to school. That's separate. But at the same time, initiating those minimal habits that we can. Like, okay, why don't we start looking at what is required for the next day? Why don't we start, um, kind of to avoid that decision fatigue that we have, setting up our clothes that we need to wear the next day, right? So it can be done during summertime. There's nothing wrong in it. Or sometimes, yeah, I'm in pajamas all the day. Okay, why don't you select a new pajama set? That's absolutely fine, right? But just get into the habit of doing it one day before. As simple as if they are middle schoolers or high schoolers, I always tell them, if you're doing any chore at home, if you are to meet any friends, if there's anyone coming over, just put that in your calendar or make a log of it, make a to-do list to see that what is there that I need to do during this week, during this day. So we kind of start with a week planner and then we go back to the daily planner. And it's not about having 10 things over there. It might be just two things, three things there, but it's all about setting up your mind into that routine of following that structure. Again, sleep pattern, getting up on time, making a routine, setting up your meals according
Yeah.
to the lunch hours, the breaks at school. What would you do after coming back from school? Okay, we have to take some rest. We have to have our snacks. Because the most underrated topics when we discuss about back to school transition is sleep and nutrition, which is all the more important for a healthy and happy day for learning and for interacting with people instead of looking at, oh, do I have my notebook? Do I have my notes ready? Do I know how to take these things? Because it is all related. So I guess setting up those routines even before entering the school is something that we can start doing, avoiding that nervousness. Another important thing, I think you mentioned it during introduction, is I always make sure that the student writes a letter. If they are dysgraphic, they can type, or their parents can help them do that. Write an introduction letter to all their teachers to help the teacher understand who they are, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what help would they need in that particular class. So it has to be, personalized according to the teacher, subject teacher, and know what you would need in that particular class. Now with elementary, there's mostly one teacher teaching all
Right.
subjects. But then there are PE teacher, art teacher, music teacher. You might need some kind of accommodation there or some kind of tweak there in terms of getting comfortable or having that environment that supports your learning. So be open to it. That's absolutely fine. Be ready to write them an introduction letter because they would not know looking at you what do you need. So if you have any specific needs, don't have that advocacy skill to say it loud and tell the teacher that this is what you need from them. I think that really reduces their nervousness because they are like, okay, now the teacher will come to know what I need. Then definitely, if there is any way of connecting with students around who are in the same class, we don't get the class lists, right? But at
Mm-mm.
least having some kind of play group around students who are in the same school. All of them might not be going to the same class, but at the same time, they can still be friends during break, during lunch. They can connect over those breaks. So just continuing those connections with people, expanding the groups is what can be helpful during summer break to have that smooth transition to school. The moment you get the schedule, discuss it with your child. Very important because once they are aware of how the day looks like, help them visualize it in their mind, the transitions that are going to be there. Um, Obviously, you cannot predict what the expectation of the teachers are, but I feel every teacher is equipped enough to kind of make that transition easier for students when they are at school. So, as parents, our duty is to just make them sure that this is how your schedule looks like, this is how your day looks like. Let's go through it. Let's visualize it, what's going to happen. And again, as you get the resources, as you get everything ready, making sure that we are not waiting till the last day, but kind of chunking it down into smaller tasks and say, okay, we are going to cover all our books today. We are going to look into stationery, what we need, what do we need to pack. So, getting that backpack even ready over a period of time, not in a rush just one day before, I think is really helpful in reducing that nervousness. And I think the best and the most important part is we talk a lot about co-regulation. So it's not just the child, but you regulating yourself every time to kind of support their transition is important.
Yeah, and it's also helping like not to kind of ask the kids all the time, oh, so do you have your notebook? Oh, so do you have your stuff?
Definitely.
Because Because, like I said, my older is starting high school, so the transition is really big
Mm.
from middle school. And it's like you said, we don't. It's a huge high school, so we don't know if he's going to be even with the same kids that he knows from middle school because they are funneling from different
Right.
schools. Of course, as a parent, it's like the worry is he going to be okay? Is he going to find his classes? And I asked him, do you know where your classes are? And he says, no. And I was like, but he says, but mom, that's okay. I'll figure it out. So I love that he said that. And that's my experience, and I'm sure everybody have their own experience, but I do want to kind of um validate the worry that we all feel as parents, especially if it's a new school with a new school year with different kids and different teachers that we don't know.
Yes.
Is that's totally okay to be nervous. That's so normal. And then I love what you said about the nutrition. And to our listeners who listen to this podcast, the next episode is about nutrition and school. So, keep in mind, pay attention when we have that one released. But what I want to say about the nutrition piece is that have your child involved, whether they are teens or elementary school kids or middle schooler, in the preparation of what do you see yourself eating, what will be comfortable for you, will be comforting for you, what do you want um to have. Do you want hot lunch? Do you want to take from the cafeteria? What is going to happen to make sure that, and also make sure that we have snacks um for their snack time. um and it's really interesting because some kids are having really hard time eating breakfast in the morning.
Yes.
um but we have to kind of understand that even eating something small will help, just because until snack time it can be 2 hours, which
Yeah.
means it might be 4 hours since they woke up, or 3 hours since they woke up. So we have to take it into consideration that there's need to be something there for their blood sugar. um
And the simplest thing that I explain to the younger ones is like, I say, okay, your brain needs something to chew on since you have to work so hard. So if you don't chew anything, then the brain is going to chew on itself. Don't let your brain get wasted for that. Eat something. Even if I'm like, even for my son, he doesn't feel like eating anything in the morning when he gets up.
Mine
So I've
too.
told him, it's like, have nuts. You want to have a glass of milk? Take a glass of milk. You don't want to even have that, at least put something in your mouth, whatever you want, which is nutritious, obviously not sugar for sure,
Mhm.
but a little bit of sugar is fine, but it should
Yeah.
not be like a complete sugar content, and that's absolutely fine. It's okay. If your body doesn't require anything in the morning, that's absolutely fine, but I don't want you to starve till it's lunchtime. So you have to have that sustained energy by eating something.
Yeah, I had a client that we talked about what will be easier for him in the morning, because he's in middle school.
Hmm.
And he said that it's very hard for him to chew, like it takes effort. And I want to kind of talk about that too, because with ADHD and autism, something, even eating, takes effort and energy in the morning. And even thinking about it's like you said, the decision fatigue. We're already
Yes.
starting with like that energy. So we talked about, well, what is something that is very easy for you and it doesn't require effort and energy for me to do? So he said smoothie. Like,
Yes.
that works perfectly because you put whatever you want. You can even put the fruits and everything the day before, the night before, and then you can blend it and you drink it and you're out the door. So he was actually on it. He was drinking smoothies before school starts. And at least he got something in his system. Um, so we covered a little bit of sleep. We covered a little bit of nutrition. I know you guys, this is a podcast. We cannot give you everything. We are trying to kind of summarize it to make it maybe a little bit less stressful. We talked about advocacy and having the kid help the kid write an introduction letter to the teacher or to the teachers. And this is great, depending on the developmental stage. When they're in elementary school, we are going to do that for them. And honestly, from my experience, it was in elementary school, all teachers at the beginning of the school year do ask, tell me about your child, da 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 da. What do they like? What do they don't like? And so I find it very helpful. Um, let's talk a little bit about what is happening with 504s and IEPs, and how do we do that? Is this something that we are asking the kids to do, or we do that?
So with 504s, IEPs, it is a collaborative effort. The child has to be there for sure because they are the ones who are getting the accommodations, but the parents have to be an active participant in that. At least I have been till my son was in high school.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, every year, every academic year starts with those meetings for sure, because it has to be a mutual agreement between both the parties, the school and the parents and child, in terms of what is required, what really helps the child be successful at what is being done at school. So I guess it's all the more important to kind of look into all the aspects of what your observation has been as a parent. What were the challenges the child or the student faced last year? What are certain things that can be changed or tweaked in the plan for them, for IEP specifically, if there are any modifications that needs to be done, or what are the new plans that need to be made? I guess even if as parents we are not aware of all the knowledge that is required, we as parents can be representing our own child and look into what really worked, what did not work, collecting some data beforehand so that we can advocate for our child, and the child, first asking the child as well. At the same time, I do, as a parent, feel that sometimes when especially the students are at a high school age, they would be like, we don't need these accommodations, we don't need
Mm,
this, we are okay with it, because there's a peer pressure. They do not
yes.
want to be someone different, right?
Hmm.
And that's why they want to gel in and say, oh, I don't have any accommodations, I'm fine. But I used to always tell my son that it's okay if you don't want to use them. Never let go of it just because you may need it at one time, especially with the SATs and those
Yeah.
exams wherein you may need that extra time. You may need that room to sit in isolation and do it. Don't let go of anything. I would say don't use it, that's fine. But help your child understand that it is important for their success. No matter whether they use it or not, it should be there as a backup plan when they need it, because it is not something that you get immediately. So it is not that one day before the test, the child says, oh, I think tomorrow I need extra time and it's going to work out. No, it is not. It is a document that needs to be prepared in advance. So as a parent and as a child, we have to be synced in what we really want from the school and be ready for that meeting in terms of knowing that, yes, this is the requirement. This needs to be there and written. And I feel most of the schools are so accommodating in terms of putting it. It only becomes a little difficult when it comes to execution at different levels. But again, that introduction letter is the great way to help the teacher understand what's really going on and kind of have that initial bonding if required.
What if the parent is concerned about stigma because of that letter?
Um, it's a tricky situation, definitely depending on your cultural background or how you've been raised. That definitely becomes a stigma for a lot of parents. Um, I've personally talked to a lot of parents around that, and I've said that, it's a shift in the mindset that they need when they are looking from a lens of their child. It's not about that it's something wrong. It's
Hmm.
more so about accepting that it's like wearing glasses, right? So if your eyesight is weak, you need glasses. Would that be something that would cause stigma to you? It should not, because it is something that your body requires. The same way accommodations and the modifications are required based on the child's brain requirement. It is not something that can be compromised on. And it takes time. There are certain parents who definitely understand. I do provide a lot of resources to parents to understand how the child feels, how what are the struggles they are going through, helping them understand the brain science behind it, so that it's not about, oh, I'm pushing you to get rid of that feeling. It's more so about transitioning. Again, the smooth transition into understanding what is really benefiting your child. It's all about every parent wants to see their child excelling. Every parent wants their child to be successful. I've never met a parent saying, I want my child to be a failure. So if that stigma is around, oh, that introduction letter really highlights that deficit, I always start with highlighting the strengths, because that is what it is. You overcome your weaknesses using your strengths, right? So, and every child is unique with a unique profile, and definitely some uh, kind of out of box thinking, or that speciality that they have in them, the spark in them, they have any um, I would say the passion that they have, which can be used for their success. So it's not about just talking about the deficits, it's also talking about the advantages that they can have over others, their unique profile that they have. So it's turning around just talking about this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, to
Mhm.
know I am good at this, my child is good at this, but definitely they might need your guidance in this space. So I guess it's more of a positive approach than a negative approach, um, moving to that, stigma in their stage of saying, okay, I don't want to do it because my child will be tagged.
Yeah. Though I understand as a parent as well. I completely understand the parents. Like you said, we want to, we validate your concerns.
Definitely.
Another thing that I add is that when we apply for an IEP, or 504, but definitely for an IEP, it's there to protect your child
Yes.
by law.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important. And you and I just had a discussion about that, like before I hit the record button,
Yeah.
about an IEP, that I did urge parents to apply for an IEP, so it will protect their child by law. And you know what, you guys? Yes, school year starts soon, even if it starts messy, even if it starts like somewhere in between smooth and messy, you're not doing anything wrong. Um, we are building the scaffolding one September, August at a time, August to September at a time. And that scaffolding is exactly what lets our kids eventually stand on their own. And before we finish up, Jasleen, is there anything else that you can recommend doing?
I think we've talked about everything: sleep patterns, nutrition. We've talked about the visual anchors, the brain power that can be preserved by avoiding that decision fatigue and chaotic mornings, and then definitely parent co-regulation. I guess the only thing that I would like to say at the end is that, we are not looking at perfection, we are looking at progress. So back to school, the success is not measured by having a perfect first day. It's all about creating routines, helping your child feel safe, capable, and increasing their independence through the structures, routines, and anchors that you can set in advance, rather than saying, rushing for something and saying that it wasn't perfect enough.
Yeah, and if your child is young and they need a transitional object from home, that's okay too. I mean, I had students who were very young, and they started transitional kindergarten or kindergarten, even first grade, and they needed a little stuffy in their pocket from home. They can just hold it. If you need to, and you need to put a picture of your family in the lunchbox, that's okay. Go ahead and do it. Um,
Absolutely.
for middle schoolers is really make sure that they know where their classes are and understand that that's going to be in transition, to get to know, for us as parents, from one teacher to another, to know the teachers. And we will, what I would say too is that, to add to what Jasleen said, is that those who really have challenges with sensories, make sure to put that in the letter to the teachers, so they know what works for your child. And many of our kids that are neurodivergent are holding it together all day long.
Yeah.
And then they release everything at home the second they at the door or in the car. And that's not a misbehavior. Let me be very clear. That's just a mask coming off in a safe place, which is home, in your car. So I would protect 20 or 30 minutes of no demands time after pickup, before we do homework, before chores, or even before how was your day.
Yeah, definitely. Very important. I guess this is one of the important points. I've talked to so many parents that, the child is masking throughout the day. Let them be themselves when they come back home. Yes, it is difficult for you emotionally to kind of handle that situation, but that's where co-regulation comes in. Give them their time to just settle down, because it's been a hard day. It's been a long day. And, especially after transitioning back to school, first few weeks are hard. They're trying to adapt to new structures, routines. So it's their brain that gives up. It's the energy that, just really drops down, saying, I cannot do it anymore. So as parents, we have to be there as their biggest support, to kind of be an external memory, and at the same time create that safe environment for them to express themselves as they want to.
Yeah, protect the buffer between school and home. With that note, thank you for listening to Empowering Exceptional Minds, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Jasleen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was my pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for listening to the Empowering Exceptional Minds podcast. For more inspiring conversations and neurodiversity affirming content, be sure to subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. If you have questions, ideas for future episodes, or if you'd like to share your story as a guest, please reach out. We'd love to connect with you. Email us at edutherapyca@gmail.com or find us at Educational Therapy LLC. Thanks again for spending this time with us. Take care, and we'll see you again next time on Empowering Exceptional Minds.